So in this lesson, I'm going to show you how to create a gradient within your shape and also in your stroke. That's what you see here is one I created as an example. So the gradient tool for Illustrator is quite different than creating gradients in Photoshop and a little cumbersome. So that's why I'm making this video. So first off, let's create a new artboard. You're going to go to File, you're going to go to New, and then let's create a name for it. Let's call it Gradient Lesson. And we can also make sure the dimensions are maybe a square. I got mine at 6 inches by 6 inches. If yours is different, you can make it whatever you want. But 6 inches by 6 inches is what I created mine. Here you see CMYK. Everything else should be fine. So we're going to click OK. All right, so here I have out two panels from over here. If these are not extended out, you might want to pull these out. So if I put these back, I'll show you what that might look like. It might be anywhere along your panels right here, but if you go to the one that shows the stroke, you're going to need that one. Okay, you can put that one back and attach it, bring it out here. You're going to need the gradient. You can just attach that one and we'll bring it out here. Okay. We're not really going to need layers for this one. We typically need layers, but we're not going to do layers on this lesson. Okay. So we're going to create a shape. We're going to use the pen tool to play around and make a shape. Okay. So if you click on the P key, and I just want you to create some kind of organic graphic shape. I'm just going to click and drag and just make any kind of shape. Doesn't matter. Just something maybe organic and wonky is fine. And then you can go back and reshape your shape if you want to. Because typically things like logos and things like that have kind of organic kind of shapes. You can adjust the handles, whatever you would like to do with this shape. Doesn't matter what the shape is. Okay? So once you got your shape, notice it already has a stroke. It actually already has a fill. I didn't have you click on the none for any of that. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and click on this tool. This is the gradient tool. You notice the quick command is a G. If I come over here and I click on G on my keyboard, you notice it just highlighted it. And now I have my gradient tool. Now, what's going to happen is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to click on the inside of this shape. Notice my fill is on top. Okay, so I'm going to click on that. And this is what appears. It essentially now selected the gradient right here and put it within this area. Okay, just like we have the white here that could fill in either one of these, we have a gradient that automatically came in and filled in white to black from left to right gradient. Now, on this gradient, if I come down to this bar right here, and I basically just have some crosshairs, and I come down to that little bar that is already just basically horizontal. I got a few things on it. I got this little point right here. I put my cursor over it. It becomes a little finger. I come over here to this end. There's a little marker right there. I put my cursor over it, my crosshair, whatever. It turns into a finger. Same thing over here on this end. But what's interesting, if I come out here to the end like that, notice how my little crosshairs turns into like this little counterclockwise arrow. So we're going to play around with all that. So let me go to this one in the middle, adjust it. Notice how it moves my gradient from the white to the black. And then if I come out here, pull this marker, it brings in the white. Come out to this marker, it pulls in the black. And notice the marker is black. And notice the marker out here is white. Okay. So I can do all those kind of adjustments. Okay. Now I can also notice as I move these, what's happening over here. Okay. My gradient tool, my gradient panel is basically mimicking what I'm doing over here. So if I come over here and move this one, it moves that one. Okay. Now, if I come out here and click and hold and then move up or down, you can see how I can change the direction of this. And what's going to happen is now it changed the angle which my gradient is going. Now, if you come over here, you can see this says linear. And that's essentially what's happening is you got this linear gradient. It's going from consistently from one side to the other. Now I can also click on this and hold it and pull it and move it like this. I can click on this end and pull it back this way. Notice how this end has like a kind of like a circle on it, whereas this end has more of a dot. When I click on this end, I can pull it in actually. I can't do that on this end. If I click on that end, it just moves the whole thing. Okay. So all these are adjustments and ways to kind of move the gradient once you've created it within that space. Okay. Now I do have an option to go with something called a radial, and that's what that looks like. And we can get all into that too. Again, if I come out here, I can move this, but that doesn't really change anything because it's a radial. It's already kind of goes around. So, but I can again make adjustments of where this is at, where these are at, how long this is, and make all kinds of adjustments like that. So, that's what the radial can do. Okay. Just going to go back to linear. Now, move this back around a little bit. All right. So, how do we do color on this? Okay. The way we do color, again, remember that like this marker is white and this one is black. This is white and this is black. This is what those are. If I come over here and I click on this marker, double click, this pops down. And then I gotta go over to these these little rows right here with a little arrow, and I click on that. Notice how it says grayscale. If I come down to CMYK, there we got some color. If I bring my cursor down over this color bar, notice now I have a color picker. Now, on this color picker, notice up here at the top it's light. Notice down the bottom it's dark. So if I want a lighter color, I click up here. If I want a darker color, I click in here. And here we see basically we have the color spectrum. Okay. So if I click somewhere within that, now I've selected that color, and that marker is now that color. Okay. So the marker out here will be that color too. Now if I click on this marker, gradient slider, and do the same thing, now I can select a color for that side of the gradient. And I can keep making adjustments till I get what I want. Now, again, now I'm just going to show you from over here, how we can make those adjustments too. So if I come over here and I'm making this, sliding these things back and forth, it's just basically the same as sliding these things back and forth, okay? Um, Also, I want to show you right here how this has this angle. I click on that and I come up here, I can uh, also turn this thing. So it didn't make much of a difference there. So just like how I come out here and use that end to kind of turn it, you can do the same thing over here. Okay? All right. So we've done basically the fill. Now what about our stroke? Okay. So I'm going to click on the stroke layer and now this popped out on me. I'm going to put that panel back in. I'm going to pull my stroke out here so we can look at it. So my stroke, I really can't see it right now. So I'm going to make my stroke bigger so that we can actually fill it with something. Okay. Now, it doesn't work like the fill does. See, the gradient tool is already selected. I've got this on top, but yet I don't have any kind of a gradient inside there. What I have to do is come over here and select stroke, or actually click fill right here. Actually, this is a little confusing to me still. Okay, if you click on gradient right here, and now I have stroke on top, and I click right here. So this is what I mean. It's just cumbersome. It's just, you would think if you had the stroke on top and you click on the gradient tool, it should automatically go within your stroke. Anyway, and if I could come over and click, but I can't click. Notice how it's got the little crosshair and it's got a circle and it's got a diagonal through it. I can't click over here with just the stroke on top. I don't know. I wish that's the way I would think it would work. But you got to come down here and click on the gradient. Boom. Okay. Now you can see over here, actually within the stroke area is now a gradient. Now, it's the same gradient that was used for the fill. And notice also the angle of that is the same too. And notice I can't do anything with this bar to affect or change anything. It's got a crosshair, a circle, and a diagonal to it. I can't click and move anything. I'm clicking and holding and trying to adjust, and I can't do anything. You have to do everything over here for the stroke. Okay. Now notice this popped up too. That wasn't there because we have the stroke on top. We have it selected. Okay. So what if I wanted a different color? What if I wanted to change the angle? What if I wanted to make it a radial? I can do all that, but I have to do it all from over here. So if I come over here, I can change it to radial. Actually, this has a few other features because it is a stroke. I can make apply the gradient across the stroke. So that means it goes from one side to the other within the stroke. This one apply gradient along the stroke. And this is apply gradient within the stroke. Okay. I can't remember what it was to begin with. It was probably that one. All right. I'm going to change it back to linear. Actually, okay. I'm a little confused now. But anyway, so I'm going to change the angle from here. Okay, and this is where you can change the angle from. Okay, notice it didn't change this bar right here. Okay, it didn't change that bar, which is there usually when we apply it to the fill. But anytime we want to change the angle, now it's basically the way this is, we have to do it from over here. That's for the stroke. Okay, and that's essentially the same concept as taking this bar right here, and notice we were moving it back and forth, but we're doing it over here, and we don't see a bar moving back and forth like we did for the fill. Now, to make adjustments within the gradient, we have to do it over here from these markers. Okay, we can slide these back and forth, and we'll adjust between the gradients, what's happening. And what if we wanted to make the stroke a different color? Okay, we have to click on these markers, and we come down here, and now we can select our different colors. Looks pretty wacky colors. Now you select the colors, whatever colors you need or whatever colors you want within your design, right? And that's basically how you do a fill and a stroke with a gradient, okay? There is one more thing I want to show you. Now to get rid of all this, so you're not looking at all this, remember we're on the gradient tool. If I come up here and click on any of these selection tools, that kind of bar goes away, and if I click outside that shape, we just see the shape and the stroke, anything selected, okay? I can still come over here and select on this, and the direct selection tool, I can select on anything and move it and shape it. And now it's just going to have that fill and the stroke applied to it, okay? Now, there is one more thing I want to show you, and I want to go ahead and click back on the fill, put it on top, click back on the gradient tool. If I come back over here and now, I think I need that selected. Okay, so I've clicked within there and got my bar back. Watch what happens if I click along underneath where these little markers are. Watch what happens. I got another marker. So if I keep clicking, I can keep getting more markers. Okay, and all it's done is put another marker underneath. It hasn't changed anything yet, but if I now click on these and move those back and forth, it can change things within the gradient. Same thing here. I have more of these now. I can make my gradient really customized. It looks kind of wavy. Now if I click on this, I can actually change colors and see what that does. You can get really almost tie-dye looking. Okay. So the same thing can be happen to the stroke. I'm gonna come in here and select on the outside and deselect all that. So that's how you work with the gradient tool. Okay. So what I want you to do, save this, go to File. You can save it. If you save as again, it's going to save it as an AI file. But to turn it in, you got to export it again as a well, PNG seems to be the default, but JPEG is what we've always been using. I will accept the canvas can use a PNG, but JPEG is a little safer, I feel like, sort of as a default. So you'll save that, export it, and then you'll turn that into the lesson. And that's it.